So here we are again. We're on our shifted conversation with educators. Today we have two consultants from Sir Wilfrid Laurier School Board. We have Tim and Ron, who work as consultants. And we're having conversations with educators just to kind of get an idea of how things are going out there. What's the pulse from the shift that we've had to go on from face-to-face to more of an online learning environment? So welcome, you two guys. How's it going over at Sir Wilfrid Laurier? How are you guys doing?
Well, thanks very much for the invitation. It's busy, that's for sure, but we're doing well so far, I think.
How are you, Ron?
It's been excellent. We're getting a lot of emails, and despite all the overload of emails, it's been super positive.
Right on. And maybe you guys just touch on Tim. Like, what's your role at the board? What do you consult in? I should say.
Okay. Well, both Ron and I are educational technology consultants. So our job was pretty simple until a few months ago, in the sense that our main focus was working with teachers to use technology effectively in class, and we had some major dossiers like the assistive technology portfolio. But over the last couple of years, one of the big thrusts that we have was with coding and robotics. So we spent a lot of time doing that.
Nice. And Ron, bring me back. Let's go back before this all began, before March 13th. What were you guys doing? Like, I know it came so suddenly and we were all kind of caught off guard, but what were you guys up to before all this shutdown happened?
Yeah, it was a big year because of all the, as Tim was mentioning earlier, about the coding and robotics dossier, and bringing coding back into our schools. We gave a lot of basically courses where a lot of the teachers came to the board office because we had a lot of funding from the government. So we were giving a lot of training to the teachers and our community of lead practitioners in our schools. So we did. We tried to make our coding and robotics lessons pertinent to the subject areas, and so we did a lot of training with groups of teachers and with our lead teachers, which now has shifted to this online paradigm where we're teaching a lot of teachers at the same time for various schools without everybody running to one location for training.
Right. So what was kind of the first weeks like when the shutdown first happened? I imagine that you guys must have been inundated with emails and requests, and I don't know how to do this, and I need help with that, and I got to go online. And what were those first initial weeks like for you guys?
I would love to take a stab at that one, because I remember 3 a.m. Tim was very nervous, and so was I. When we gave our first online training, it wasn't any different for us than it was for the teachers. We were used to delivering in front of a group. So from our point of view, I mean, Tim was, I think, texting me at 3 a.m. because he had a session the next day. So we felt the nervousness also. And Tim, you can remember that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my overriding sense of that is there's just a hard stop as of the 13th of March, where we just stopped what we were doing. And really, up until that time, we knew we were watching the news. We knew stuff is going to happen, or stuff is happening. But I don't think we had a sense of I mean, I'm just talking for myself here, but I did not have a sense of the full scope of what was about to happen. So we stopped. And then the directives start coming from the government, and we're trying to make sense of that, and we're trying to figure out what our next step is going to be, right? And if you remember that first 2-week period where the teachers were sort of put on hold, and that's the time when we had to kick it into gear in order to have something for the parents. And I think we'll probably talk about the learning backpack at some point in this, because Ron took the lead on that, and I think it made a big difference for our parents as we waited to find out what was going to happen with the teachers.
Right. Yeah, those first couple of weeks, it was kind of everything's on pause. Kids are on vacation for 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. It was kind of very fluid at the time. But things started to shift, right? And these demands started to come in. So what were the huge demands on you guys when this first started? What were the kinds of requests that you were getting for support?
Well, I think our initial fears were the inequity, and what do kids actually have access? Do teachers have access? How are we going to get information to everybody? I mean, to make it equitable. Mm-hmm. That was our, I think, initial fears. Do we have to use a phone? Do we have to send things out to the mail? Those are the biggest. I think the biggest challenges for us to start was what does it all look like for families in their homes, and how do we get that information to them? And especially if teachers beforehand were used to paper, pencil, smartboard, and email, right, and they weren't used to all of this technology. So that was their biggest challenge.
Right. And what were some of the technologies that you guys had at the forefront that were going to help you with this transition? What were you guys looking at your board at Sir Wilfrid Laurier?
Well, we had Zoom as our fallback communications platform. Really, I mean, Zoom sort of, we were using it for video conferencing sessions. I know I'd used it a little bit with connecting teachers to museums and stuff like that. But all of a sudden, this became like the main way that we're going to communicate. And so, right off the bat, initially it was all still through email. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong here, right? But that's the way the teachers routinely, had traditionally reached out to us. But when we started sort of getting our head around the fact that we're going to be doing this for a while, the Zoom connection became a really important tool. And I mean, the usage of it just skyrocketed, I'm sure, like all the other school boards as well.
Yeah, the other thing too, it's not just from a hardware point of view and software point of view, but Tim and I noticed too that a lot of the soft skills, the things that are not taught in classrooms and teachers were not maybe getting in their formal education. I think our system has failed with respect to knowledge of the computer literacy, because we're getting bogged down on a lot of those issues. So let's put teaching aside for a moment. The computer literacy part has been lacking with a lot of kids and a lot of the staff. They know how to go on the computer, but it's those important things that not everybody gets or got a chance to learn during their schooling.
Ron, when you talk about soft skills, can you elaborate on that a bit? What are you talking about?
The things that are not taught in school. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I had to make a parallel in the financial world, we don't tell kids in school how to save money or how to budget.
Right.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Right. The things that fall between the cracks in education. We work on the pedagogy. We don't work on the mechanics. Right. And Microsoft Word is probably shown to the kids, but using Excel as a spreadsheet or all those little things.
Or just things like file management, for instance.
You get a course in math or in French, but you're expected to know those other things. It's like digital citizenship. It's not part of the curriculum. So some of it falls between the cracks. It's kind of the same thing. Like coding.
Yeah, they say it's like everybody's job but nobody's job, right? Exactly. It often kind of gets neglected. Yeah. And those simple things too, like, I guess it's just assumed, right, that, yeah, sure, these modern kids will know how to save files and know how to manage folders. And yet, without that practice or without showing or, getting them to do that on a regular basis, it kind of does fall through the cracks. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So how did your teachers adapt? Like, I hear from you guys that, I mean, it was overwhelming for everybody. The system got overwhelmed very, very quickly. How did your teachers slowly adapt as you were starting to just focus on the how-tos of online?
I think the teachers reacted incredibly. I think that there was a misconception, and it was just, I thought, a very unfortunate choice of words when the government referred to teachers as being on vacation. Yeah, because the teachers that I knew and the teachers that Ron knew certainly were not considering it vacation. They were at home, already thinking about how they're going to be able to reach out to their students. And that was very. I think that we were pleasantly surprised with the level of engagement that the teachers showed as we started offering professional development in specific areas, and that was sort of the main thrust of what we did. We offered 3 sets of workshops, one on Google Classroom, one on Microsoft Teams, and one on Zoom. And we figured that with those 3 tools, if the teachers can get something out of that they can use to at least start connecting with their class, reaching out to their classes, being able to interact with them, that was our goal.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest kind of mind shifts too, is that you just got to start to create those relationships online again, right? Reconnect with your kids and, I mean, really forget about the learning for now for a little bit, just so that we all kind of adapt to this new environment that we're all in.
Yeah.
So you guys were mentioning, Ron, the toolkit that you guys had worked on. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we kind of had different phases. How we got together because we were getting a lot of emails and we were seeing that there was this digital divide going on, and teachers needed to start somewhere. So we decided to have, like, phase 1 was picking the established platforms and getting everybody as much as we could up to speed with, as Tim was mentioning, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom. So that was phase 1. But we also had a plan in there. It wasn't just about those platforms. It was starting out with getting our consultants on board, our subject consultants, and giving them training. Then our second shift with our community of lead practitioners. And our community of lead practitioners, we have lead teachers in our schools, and we have up to 2 in some schools, lead practitioners. So that if we train them first, we're building capacity so they can go out and help their staff. So that was phase 2 of the people we're working with. And at the end, right after that, we had training with our teachers, where we trained 715 teachers on those platforms, and it I think equated to, Tim, about 72 sessions, if I remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a third ed tech, Chantal Kurz, this year as well. So we split it up between the 3 of us. But yeah, it was 72, 73, something like that.
Wow. And were you guys doing this training alone online, like with 73 other educators?
Yes. So
no, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, we should clarify that 73 sessions we're talking about. Okay. 700 and some teachers over these sessions. So we would have anywhere between 10 and 20. Sometimes, in Chantal's case, sometimes she'd get 40 or 50 at a time. Yeah. In the sessions. Sorry, Ron.
No, it's fine. I think those sessions. If I look at the way they went, we had a demand during the sessions. We polled them and we tried to gather feedback for further training. Mm-hmm. But we also opened up Q&A sessions where we had open door, and we were running them all week long. We had blocks. So not only was it important to us to give the training, mm-hmm. and it was direct instruction at the beginning, we allowed them to work on with their kids online. And we actually, Tim, myself, and Chantal went online with teachers and students to help them out. But we had open door sessions where they could come in at any time and ask any question in EdTech. And that was really powerful.
Wow. What were some of the questions that you would get asked during these Q&As?
It could be anything where...
was the focus more on the tools and the how-tos rather than how do I integrate this or how can I transform this lesson? Like it was much more technical, I assume?
Yeah, but you could see the evolution of the questions were, I would say when we started, mm-hmm. they would tend to be more technical. I think now the questions are getting, how do I app smash? In other words, how do I take several apps, put them together to make a whole, to make a great lesson? Oh. So the conversations are starting to shift. I think, Tim, you're seeing the same type of thing?
Yeah. At first it was... where is the button that I need to press, or I did this and now I can't see what I was doing before, those kind of early questions. And then afterwards, I think as we start looking at what's going to happen in the fall, teachers are aware that this might be in some capacity the way they work for a while yet. They're thinking bigger picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And how long did it take to do that shift? Like, how long did it take you guys to start seeing that transition from how do I turn this on to, how do I use these apps together in a meaningful lesson?
About halfway through the process, I think, Ron, right? Sometime late April kind of thing.
Yeah, but like anything, there's some teachers that are not even close to being there yet.
Sure.
They're still working on mechanics. So there is a group of teachers that are doing. I mean, if you've been working on a smart board and you've been using email, you haven't been doing much tech.
Right.
It's not a 1.5 month or 2 month period that's going to bring you up to speed, where other teachers have been doing it for a decade.
Right.
So there is a huge divide between our teaching staff and what some are doing.
Well, that's interesting. Yep. It leads me into this question of what were these biggest challenges? Like, it sounds like you had challenges on all sides, from the tech side to the pedagogy side. What were some, if you gleaned through all of these challenges, what were some of the ones that stuck out the most, and how did you overcome these challenges?
I think for me, because I'm very sensitive, and so is Tim, is our dossier also, is assistive technology. Right. And when you're a teacher and you have 5 or 6 special needs in your classroom, how do I do this at a distance?
Right.
How do I incorporate in my exercise, allowing the student to have a screen reader, being able to do word prediction where they type on the screen and it actually fills in the words? How do I make my exercise so that the fonts are a better quality they can read online? So, but on the other hand, this has been fantastic, because we're made a huge shift on the way we teach and cater to those students, because I think being online, it amplifies the discrepancies that were in the classroom. It's even more apparent right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I as I've been talking to educators too, the details, of online teaching are so crucial, and the small things most of the time are the ones that are the most effective types of strategies. There was this one teacher that I talked with, and she said she just put some stuff from her classroom behind her in the background so that kids feel connected to the classroom again. I thought that was a great idea. And again, it's just a simple idea, but for the kid on the other end of it, feels connected again, even if it's just through objects that they're commonly used to. My final question for you guys, and thanks for your words. Your words are super interesting, and I think they're going to shed a lot of light on a lot of the things we're all going through. But through your guys' experience, you've been doing this online thing now for, we're March, 3 months now almost. I think we're in week 14 or 15 or something like that. What kind of PD worked best? What's the best kind of PD for online when you're delivering it? What's the setup? What's the style? What does it feel like?
I think, speaking from my experiences, short and concise and interactive, those sort of 3 things. Watching someone show you how to use an app for 2 hours, just sitting there, and I'm not saying that to disparage it, because sometimes that's the only way you can do it, to do like big long presentations and stuff. But because there is such an urgency to get the teachers really using this as quickly as possible, we really did what we could to make them as interactive, our presentations as interactive as possible. So, for instance, in my case, I was doing sessions on Teams, and I would, 10 minutes into the session, have them in a live Teams environment, trying the various features, everything from the various discussion ways to adding files, to accessing files, changing stuff, just to give them a sense of what it's like, so that they could take basically that presentation and do the same thing with their students.
Ron, what about you?
I think that we learned, first of all, that we need to keep it really simple. And everybody that's done an online course, once they get over that nervousness and have done their first course, they realize that is only version 1.0 of that online training, because you realize, and I realized it, I said, oops, I got to get better. So you're in a continual improvement loop. So I'm already thinking, oops, next time I'm doing version 2.0.
Right.
and I'm online and I see, whoops, I didn't do this because, like you mentioned, Chris, detail is so important, and little details that make the difference. And I think that's why I encourage teachers to keep a logbook, and I keep a logbook. I'm always writing notes of what should I do to improve my next one. Right. And I have a great example that maybe I can finish with is a teacher from one of our schools came to the revelation that it might not be the best way to, like, basically she was reading online, which was great. So it started off, she's reading online synchronously. So all the kids are just listening like they're in the classroom. So she's kind of replacing the classroom experience with an online one for comfort. She realized, hey, I want to record this. So she recorded it and sent it out, which was fantastic because not all the kids can come online at the same time.
Sure.
So that's the asynchronous, kind of asynchronous part. They can look at it, rewind it if they miss something. So wait a minute, when I get back to school, maybe this is a really interesting thing that I don't have to do necessarily for remote learning. Maybe I can start using this later on. Right. And now I'm doing a session with her today. She's going to be taking that video she created. We're going to be editing the video, and at certain points in there, she's going to have reflective, and she's going to have questions that show up on the screen that ask kids, timing their prompts. So at specific breakpoints in the video,
that's awesome.
The kids will be prompted. So I've seen the teacher evolve from, face-to-face instruction where she's reading to I have to send it out to kids in advance, record a video, but now I'm going to add, so you can see that she's amplified her lesson. Right. And I think that's going to have dividends when she gets back to her actual classroom in the physical world. Yeah.
Big time. That's a great example, Ron. Thanks for sharing that. Huge progress being made. All right, one final question. What does September look like?
Wow, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it?
It sure is.
I read everything that comes out from in the directives and just trying to get a hint. I was hoping maybe you're on the inside track. You have a scoop. What's it going to look like?
I think it's going to be different all over the place.
It's probably going to change about 5 times.
Yeah, probably. Are you guys looking at kind of a some kids in school, some kids online kind of hybrid model, or how are you guys planning for September? Like, is there a directive out there for you guys that you need to be ready for online, or it looks like we'll be going back to schools, or what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think in terms of what we do in our department, our delivery model for workshops for teachers will have changed as of COVID, because of COVID-19. Sure. We've realized how efficient we've been.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we've all realized too that you can actually do some amazing things from your home office, and without running around to all the schools, you can give training to 30 schools at once.
Right.
It's been enlightening for us. I think it's definitely going to be a blended model in the mindset, not necessarily. Like, I think the mindset will stay with us forever.
Right.
That this new paradigm will drive the future. And I think a lot of teachers realize this. And I think so it's not just what's going to happen in September. I think we need to continue what we've been doing regardless.
The shift is on.
I think the whole idea, like, I don't know if we want to call it a perfect. No, I want to say in a perfect world, if all of a sudden all teachers were back with all their students in the class in September, we have effectively had 4 months of beta testing another way of working with our teachers that I think, like to Ron's point, we're going to use this for a long time afterwards, after COVID hopefully is resolved and it's just a bad memory.
Right.
We have another tool in our arsenal now.
Well, I love that you guys are finding the silver lining in these difficult times, because you have to, right? You got to maintain some kind of normalcy a little bit. So it's pretty amazing what you guys are doing. I want to thank you guys for sharing what's been going on. It's been a real fun kind of time listening to you guys and also following you. And I wish you guys a ton of luck with the coming school year. And I wish you also a great summer. I hope you get some much needed rest and a little bit of relaxation going on.
Thanks very much, Chris.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. Please leave your dog barking in the background on the podcast.
I leave it in.
That's the new reality.
He was clapping for you guys. It was a dog clap. All right, guys, you be well, and we'll talk soon for sure. And keep up the great work.
Sounds good. Thanks very much.
All right, see you later, guys.